All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we're diving into something truly unique.
Oh, yeah.
The intellectual journey of Larry Sanger, co-founder of Wikipedia,
You know him.
from staunch skeptic and agnostic to
To devout Christian.
a devout Christian, yeah.
And that's not your typical,
Oh, not at all.
Sunday school conversion story.
No. This is
It's,
all about philosophy and reason
yeah.
and some seriously deep questions about, like, the nature of reality itself.
We're talking hardcore intellectual stuff.
Yeah.
So we have this amazing blog post, right?
Oh, yeah, it's a gold
A
mine.
gold mine written by Sanger himself.
Detailing the whole
A
journey.
whole thing. Yeah, complete with like all the philosophical arguments
It's anecdote.
and anecdotes. Yeah. It's incredible. It's like
Like we're getting this like front row seat
his rose seed. Yeah.
to like the evolution of his thought process.
The inside his head.
Yeah, and it's even more fascinating because I mean, we're talking about the guy who helped create Wikipedia.
This platform built on like
Verifiable knowledge.
verifiable knowledge.
Like that's his thing.
Like, how did someone so steeped in that world
Right.
of facts and evidence
Yeah.
come to embrace faith?
The $1,000,000 question.
Yeah.
And the answer. Not simple.
Not at all.
Not simple at all. This is a story. It unfolds over decades,
Oh, yeah.
marked by like some serious intellectual curiosity, rigorous self-examination,
Yeah.
and a willingness to really challenge even his most deeply held convictions.
Let's rewind back to his early years.
Way back.
Yeah. What were those like seeds of skepticism?
The roots.
Yeah, that led him down this path.
Yeah, so even as a kid, right, Sanger was a natural questioner.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about like constantly peppering his parents with questions about,
Big questions.
big questions. Yeah, like the nature of mind, spirit, soul.
Right. Those like
The kind of stuff.
existential. Yeah, the kind of stuff most kids aren't exactly like bringing to the dinner table. You know what I mean?
No, not at all.
Like, why is the sky blue? No, this is like, what is the soul?
Yeah, so he had that like innate curiosity
From day one, yeah.
from a young age. Yeah.
Huh.
Was there like a specific turning point?
A catalyst.
Yeah, that pushed him towards agnosticism.
He mentions this like really disheartening encounter
Okay.
with a pastor when he was a teenager.
Hmm.
It seems like he was asking some challenging questions.
Yeah.
But only to be met with
Oh.
kind of dismissive answers. Like,
Write it off.
yeah, brush it off, kid.
Yeah.
So this, unfortunately,
Yeah.
really solidified his skepticism towards organized religion.
Oh, yeah.
It makes you wonder, right, how many people
So many.
have been turned away from faith
Hmm.
because their genuine questions weren't taken seriously.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
It really is. It highlights
Yeah.
like the importance of intellectual humility
Oh, right.
and open dialogue, especially within religious institutions.
For sure.
But for Sanger, this experience, this is what led him to develop like this very rigorous approach to knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
which he called methodological skepticism.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break this down.
Right. So
Methodological skepticism. What does that even mean?
essentially, it's this commitment to like withholding belief
Okay.
until you have sufficient evidence and justification.
Hmm.
Like you don't just believe something because someone told you to.
Right. Yeah.
You need the receipts.
You need the receipts.
You gotta see the proof.
You gotta show your work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sanger took this very, very seriously.
I bet he did.
Yeah. He even like created this set of personal criteria.
Like almost like a rubric.
Yeah. For evaluating his own beliefs.
So he could check his own work.
Yeah. He needed to know exactly what he believed,
Mm-hmm.
why he believed it, and whether those reasons held up under scrutiny.
Right.
So it's almost like a scientific approach to belief formation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So he was applying this standard to everything,
Everything.
including the question of God.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
And initially, this led him to explore, the philosophy of Ayn Rand.
Oh, interesting.
Staunch atheist, strong emphasis on reason and self-interest.
Yeah.
He even, spent time with objectivists,
Oh, wow.
but never quite felt at home.
Didn't quite click.
It didn't quite click.
So what was it about Rand's philosophy that like didn't resonate with him?
Well, he initially embraced her atheism,
Right?
but he found himself increasingly uncomfortable with some of her core ideas,
Okay.
particularly her ethical framework.
Mm.
It was actually life events.
Oh, okay.
You know, his marriage, becoming a father,
Yeah.
that ultimately led him to reject Rand's ethics. He started to, recognize that, like, true morality goes beyond, pure self-interest.
Right.
It encompasses things like compassion and empathy and a sense of responsibility toward others.
Yeah, more than just yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those personal experiences, they started to, like, chip away.
Yeah, like eroding.
Yeah, at his purely rationalistic worldview.
Okay, so those personal experiences start to chip away at his worldview.
Yeah.
Did that, like, lead him straight to faith?
Not quite.
Not quite.
No. He went through this phase of agnosticism, not actively denying God's existence.
Right.
But also not finding the arguments for it convincing either.
Okay.
In fact, he famously adopted what he called a no-concept view of God.
Okay, what does that even mean? No concept.
All right, so did he just stop thinking about it altogether?
Not exactly.
Okay.
His argument was that the very idea of God was meaningless.
Because in his view, we have no experience of minds creating matter from nothing. Right? Like, you can't point to an example of that. Yeah. So it was like saying, the whole conversation's off limits because the core concept is just, it's incoherent.
Yeah, so how do you go from that kind of firm stance to eventually embracing belief?
It's a process, right?
Yeah. What were, like, the cracks in this no concept foundation?
Well, there were a few key turning points.
Okay.
He recounts this moment during a philosophy class where a student presented, like, a version of the argument from design.
Yeah, the classic.
Classic, right.
Yeah.
The idea that the universe is fine-tuning, the intricate balance of physical laws and constants suggests the existence of a designer.
Yeah.
Like, someone had to set it up this way.
Right.
And I can see how that would be, like, a powerful argument.
Especially for someone, with the scientific mindset.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And Sanger admits that this encounter, like, left him speechless.
Oh, wow.
Even teary-eyed, right?
Wow.
It challenged his no-concept view.
Right.
Because here was this rational argument based on observable evidence that hinted at something beyond the purely material.
Yeah.
Right? Like, maybe there's more to this than just the physical stuff we can see and touch.
Okay, so the seeds of doubt are planted.
Yeah.
What nurtured those seeds.
Right.
And eventually led to his, like, full-blown conversion.
Well, years later, right, his own exploration of technology, specifically the potential for AI to create godlike beings.
Oh, interesting.
This played a significant role.
Okay.
He realized that if it was conceivable for us, for humans, to create something so powerful, then maybe the idea of a creator wasn't so nonsensical after all.
Yeah, if we can conceive of it, then it's not so far out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty profound realization.
It is, yeah. Our own, like, technological advancements forcing us to reconsider our, like...
Big questions.
The big question, our understanding of the divine.
Yeah.
Did this immediately lead him to, like, embrace faith?
Now, hold on. Remember, this is Larry Sanger we're talking about, right?
Yeah, the king of evidence.
This is a man who demands evidence.
Yeah.
And rigorous reasoning.
It's not going to be a snap.
Not a snap decision, no.
Okay.
But these cracks in his no-concept view, coupled with, like, his growing disillusionment with what he saw as the intellectual laziness of the new atheist movement.
Oh, interesting.
He wasn't impressed.
Like, he felt like they were taking shortcuts.
Yeah, shortcuts, not really engaging with the argument seriously enough. So that started to nudge him, right?
Yeah.
Towards a more open-minded stance on faith.
Okay.
So you've got, like, this perfect storm brewing.
Yeah.
His own evolving views on technology, his disappointment with the new atheists, and that lingering question of the universe's design.
It's all coming together.
It's all coming together, yeah.
Where does this, like, intellectual cocktail lead him next?
Well, two unexpected events really kind of pushed him over the edge.
Okay.
A deep dive into the problem of evil and a growing fascination or perhaps horror with the reality of organized pedophilia and the occult.
Whoa, okay.
It was like he was, like, forced to confront the darkest aspects of humanity.
Yeah.
and really grapple with this question of like, where does this darkness originate?
Where does it come from? The occult, how did that factor into his conversion story?
So as he was like delving into this disturbing world of these powerful figures exploiting children, he started to see these connections to occult practices.
Like what?
Like invoking spirit worlds, engaging with supernatural forces.
Right.
And here's the twist. It wasn't the occult itself that drew him in.
Okay.
It was the possibility that maybe
they were onto something?
They were onto something.
Yeah.
Like, what if there's...
This stuff's real.
Real, yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of just dismissing it outright, he started to, like, entertain the possibility that maybe there's this deeper...
Spiritual reality
at play,
Okay.
And if that was the case...
You want to be on the right side.
You want to be on the right side of it.
Yeah.
You don't mess with that.
No, you don't want to be on the wrong side of that.
Not at all. So this fear, coupled with his desire to really understand the roots of evil, this ultimately led him to the Bible. Not just to like dabble, but to genuinely try to understand it.
Okay.
To see if it offered any answers to these unsettling questions that were plaguing him.
So he leaves Sanger.
At a crossroads.
Yeah.
The skepticism
shaken. His no-concept view. Crumbling.
Yeah.
And his curiosity.
Leading him to
the very book
he had dismissed for decades.
Yeah. Talk about a turnaround.
Yeah, it's a pivotal moment.
It is.
His journey.
It really is.
Yeah.
That sets the stage for a pretty dramatic intellectual and spiritual transformation.
I'm ready for part 2.
Oh, it's coming.
All right. Last time, we left Larry Sanger at this really pivotal moment.
Oh, yeah.
Turning to the Bible for answers after
years of dismissing it.
Yeah, years of dismissing it.
Yeah.
Almost like he was daring it.
Yeah, like, prove me wrong.
Yeah, to prove him wrong.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this part of his journey so fascinating, right?
Totally.
He didn't approach the Bible with the reverence of a lifelong believer.
No.
He came at it with the skepticism.
Oh, yeah.
Of a philosopher.
Hardcore dissecting the text.
Questioning its claims and holding it to the same, standards of evidence and reason that he applied to everything else.
Yeah, so he wasn't just, passively reading. He was, actively engaging with the text.
He was wrestling with it.
Challenging it at every turn.
Yeah, totally.
What was his, initial reaction?
I mean, you would think, right?
I don't know. Was he immediately convinced?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, he went in expecting to find, this jumbled collection of myths and contradictions.
Right.
But what surprised him was the coherence of the biblical narrative.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily expect someone with Sanger's background to be impressed by the Bible's internal consistency.
No, you would think he'd be like, this is all over the place.
Yeah.
But he actually found that.
Yeah.
Despite being written over centuries by multiple authors.
Yeah.
There was this remarkable consistency.
Okay.
To its themes, its moral teachings, and this overarching story of humanity's relationship with God.
What specifically, what elements struck him as coherent?
He mentions being particularly struck by the way the Old Testament foreshadows the New Testament, like how seemingly disparate events and prophecies kind of weave together into this larger tapestry.
Interesting.
He was also impressed by the Bible's moral teachings.
Okay.
Which he found to be more nuanced and profound.
Okay.
Than he'd anticipated.
He'd expect it going in. Yeah. Okay, interesting. So he's starting to see the pieces fitting together. Yeah. Did he have any profound spiritual experiences during this time?
He's actually very upfront about the fact that he didn't have any mystical visions.
No, burning bush.
No burning bush. No voices from heaven.
Okay.
But what he did experience was this gradual shift in his understanding. This growing sense that the biblical worldview made more sense of the world than any other framework he'd encountered.
Well, more of an intellectual.
Yeah, more of an intellectual...
kind of shift.
Yeah, the pieces are falling into place.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So alongside this exploration of the Bible, he also revisited those classical arguments for God's existence.
Right, the ones he'd previously dismissed.
The cosmological argument, the contingency argument.
All the classics.
Yeah, the argument from design.
Yep.
Did he find them more compelling this time around?
Yes.
Okay.
But not the way you might expect.
Okay. How so?
He still recognized the limitations of each argument when taken in isolation.
Right, right.
But what changed was his understanding of how these arguments work together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he started to see them as pieces of a larger puzzle.
Okay.
That when assembled, pointed toward a picture that really resonated with him.
So is the cumulative weight?
The cumulative weight.
Yeah, of these arguments rather than any single proof.
Exactly.
That started to sway him.
Yeah, it's like he was looking for a comprehensive explanation for the universe, for consciousness, for the existence of good and evil.
He wanted a theory of everything.
Yeah, theory of everything.
Yeah.
And he found that theism, the belief in a creator God, provided like a more satisfying answer than any purely materialistic or atheistic worldview.
Okay, and you mentioned earlier that his exploration of technology, particularly the potential for AI to create godlike beings, played a role in his conversion.
Yeah. How
did that connect to his reexamination of these classical arguments?
It's a fascinating connection.
Yeah.
As he was grappling with the implications of AI, he began to see that the idea of a mind existing outside of space and time, a mind capable of creating matter and imbuing it with purpose, wasn't as far-fetched as he'd once thought.
Right.
It actually aligned quite well with the conclusions he was drawing from.
Okay.
His study of the cosmological and design arguments.
So his own foray into the world of cutting edge technology was actually pushing him closer to these traditional theological concepts.
Yeah, traditional theological concepts. It was like the lines between science and religion were blurring for him. He was realizing that our expanding scientific knowledge could actually point us towards the existence of a creator.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This led him to what he calls an argument to the best explanation.
Okay, break that down.
Okay, so it's not about absolute proof.
Okay.
It's more about looking at all the evidence, right? All the data we have about the universe and human experience.
Yeah.
And asking
what makes the most sense?
What explanation makes the most sense of all this?
Yeah.
You know?
And for Sanger, the answer was God.
For Sanger, the answer was God.
Okay.
Yeah.
But wasn't he still troubled by the problem of evil?
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, how did he reconcile this newfound faith with the existence of so much suffering in the world?
It's a question that every believer wrestles with at some point.
Of course.
Right, and Sanger's no exception.
Yeah.
He acknowledges the difficulty of reconciling a loving God with the reality of pain and suffering.
Of course.
But he also points out that atheism doesn't offer a more satisfying solution. In fact, he argues that atheism strips suffering of any ultimate meaning or purpose.
So he's saying that even though the existence of evil is a challenge for theism, it's an even bigger problem.
It's a bigger problem.
For atheism.
Because atheism, because if there's no God, then suffering is just
meaningless.
Meaningless, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty profound shift in perspective.
Going from evil as a refutation of God to seeing it as a problem that can only be addressed within a theistic framework.
Within a theistic framework, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's important to note that Sanger didn't arrive at this conclusion overnight.
Yeah, oh no.
It was a process.
It was a process, yeah.
Yeah.
Marked by periods of doubt, wrestling with these difficult questions. And confronting his own intellectual biases.
He had to check himself.
He had to check himself, yeah.
Yeah.
He even admits that there were times when he wanted to resist the pull toward faith.
I bet.
To cling to his familiar skepticism.
That's comfortable.
It's comfortable, yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't this, sudden emotional conversion experience.
Yeah.
It was this long...
A slog.
Intellectual slog.
Yeah.
And that's what makes his story all the more compelling.
Right. There's no...
He wasn't looking for...
easy answers.
Comfort or easy answers, yeah. He was driven by this, relentless pursuit of truth.
Even if it meant, flipping
his whole worldview upside down.
Whole worldview. Yeah. So it sounds like he's on the verge of this, complete transformation.
Yeah, he's getting there.
Yeah. But still hesitant to fully embrace
that label.
The label of Christian?
Yeah.
What were his, like, hang-ups?
Well, despite his growing conviction, he still struggled with certain aspects of Christian doctrine, particularly the idea of hell.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah. Oh. He found it difficult to reconcile the concept of eternal torment with his understanding of a loving and merciful God.
I mean, understandable. It's a tough
one.
Concept.
Yeah, even for lifelong believers. And it's a testament to Sanger's like intellectual honesty. Yeah. That he doesn't shy away from these difficult questions.
Yes. No, he confronts them head on.
He confronts them head on, yeah.
Yeah.
He acknowledges like the mystery, the paradox, the things that reason alone
can't fully grasp.
Can't fully grasp, yeah.
Yeah.
So we leave Sanger in this state of like intellectual and spiritual flux.
Convinced of God's existence. Convinced. Grappling with the like finer points of Christian doctrine. Yeah. And still hesitant to fully embrace
the label.
Yeah.
The label of believer.
Yeah, it's a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
A time of transition of wrestling with these profound questions.
Yeah.
And of coming to terms with the implications of his newfound faith.
Man, what a journey.
And in the final part of our deep dive,
I'm ready.
We're going to explore how Sanger navigates this new terrain.
Yeah.
How he grapples with the complexities of Christian belief.
I can't wait.
And how he ultimately arrives at a mature and nuanced understanding
hooked
of his faith. Okay, let's go. Okay, so we left off with Larry Sanger.
At this like fascinating crossroads.
Yeah.
Intellectually, he's convinced of God's existence, but still hesitant
to fully embrace
the label of Christian.
Yeah, like he was standing on the threshold of a new world,
right?
Unsure of whether to step in fully.
He accepted the intellectual case.
Yeah, he's like, okay, my mind's on board, but like the personal and emotional dimensions of faith.
Right.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And he's a self-proclaimed rationalist, someone who built his career
verifiable knowledge.
The pursuit of verifiable knowledge.
Yeah.
So how did he bridge that gap between like reason and revelation?
Head in the heart.
The head in the heart. Yeah.
Well, he did what any good scholar would do.
Yeah.
He went deeper.
He dug in.
Yeah. He dove headfirst into studying the core doctrines of Christianity.
They're trying to understand not just
the that.
The who.
The who. Yeah. Who is this God?
And what does that mean for me?
Exactly.
Didn't he actually write a whole document about this very struggle?
He did.
Like trying to reconcile his rationalist mindset with this
leap of faith.
Yeah.
It's called A Rationalist Approaches Christianity.
Oh, that's gotta be.
It's a dense read.
I bet.
But he really tackles this.
The epistemological problem.
The epistemological problem of faith. How can someone who values logic and evidence justify believing in something that can't be
empirically proven?
Right. Age-old question.
Yeah.
Right.
What were some of his key insights?
How did he try to square that circle?
Yeah.
So what are the things he emphasizes is this idea of inference to the best explanation.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's this concept in philosophy where you look at all the available evidence.
All the data,
right?
Yeah.
All the different possible explanations.
Yeah.
And you choose the one that
makes the most sense.
Yeah. The one that accounts for the most data points.
So he was applying that same
rigorous standard
he used for evaluating
scientific theories
to
the question of faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he argues that while faith requires a certain degree of trust.
Right.
It's not
blind faith.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's based on this reasoned assessment of the evidence.
The data.
Yeah, a weighing of different worldviews. And a recognition that the Christian worldview, while not without its mysteries,
of course,
offers the most compelling and coherent explanation for the totality of human experience.
So he's saying that it's not just I'm just gonna jump off this cliff and hope there's something there.
No, there's there's reasons behind it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he was still wrestling with certain aspects of Christian doctrine, right?
Yeah.
I remember you mentioned his discomfort
with hell,
with the concept of hell.
Internal torment, not a fan.
Yeah, and like how did he ultimately resolve that tension?
Did he just kind of like compartmentalize those doubts?
Yeah, like put them in a box and...
I don't think it was about compartmentalizing. It was more about like recognizing the limits of human understanding.
Okay.
He came to accept that there are some things about God and the afterlife that we simply can't
wrap our heads around. Yeah.
From our limited earthly perspective.
So a bit of like intellectual humility?
A lot of intellectual humility
was required.
I think so.
Yeah.
You know, he realized that faith doesn't require us.
Yeah.
To have all the answers.
Well, it
often starts with
acknowledging things we don't know.
Okay, so he's wrestling with these like complex theological questions, but how does this like intellectual conversion translate into
lived experience?
Yeah, like does he start going to church, praying, reading the Bible every day?
He describes it as this like gradual process.
Okay.
You know, he continues to immerse himself in scripture, but now like
it's deeper.
With a deeper understanding and appreciation for its spiritual significance.
Okay.
He joins a Bible study group.
Oh wow.
And even reconnects with his family. Over their shared faith.
So he starts to like
incorporate these practices into his life.
But does he ever like fully resolve that tension
between his rationalist mindset and his newfound belief?
It's not so much about resolving the tension as it is about holding those two perspectives in a kind of creative tension.
Right.
You know, he acknowledges that there will always be a degree of mystery, an element of faith that transcends the limits of logic. Yeah.
So where does he land on those core Christian doctrines?
What does he actually believe now? He lays it out pretty explicitly in his blog post.
Okay.
He affirms the Trinity.
Right.
The belief in one God existing in three persons.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, yeah.
Okay.
He believes in the fall of humanity, our inherent sinfulness, our need for redemption.
Yeah.
And he accepts Jesus as
the Son of God.
The Son of God, the Savior who died for our sins and offers a path to reconciliation with God.
Okay, so big picture, like classic.
Yeah, pretty classic Christian doctrines.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What about like church?
Did he find a spiritual home?
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, he's still a bit hesitant about formally joining a church.
Okay.
He expresses concern about being the quote-unquote bull in a china shop.
Oh, that's funny.
Right.
Yeah.
Asking too many questions, potentially
disrupting
things, yeah.
He doesn't want to rock the boat too much.
Not yet, no. He also wants to be sure that his theological views like align with the church's teachings.
Makes sense.
Before making a commitment.
That's so Larry Sanger.
Right.
Thoughtful, deliberate.
Not going to rush into anything without careful consideration.
Yeah.
And it speaks to his genuine humility.
Yeah.
He doesn't claim to
have all the answers.
Still learning, yeah. Still growing.
Still on that journey.
Still on a journey of faith.
So here we have Larry Sanger.
The Wikipedia guy.
Co-founder of Wikipedia.
Champion of reason.
Champion of reason and knowledge.
Embracing
a
faith that seems to defy logic.
Yeah, it's wild, right?
It is a really interesting story.
It's a good one.
It's a reminder that the human mind is complex.
For sure.
Our journeys are
rarely linear, yeah.
Full
of twists and turns.
And that faith and reason
aren't necessarily
at odds.
At odds. They can coexist.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting deep dive.
It has.
What's remarkable about Sanger's story...
What is it?
...is not simply the change in belief...
Right.
...but the depth of thought and intellectual honesty.
Yeah, he brings to
the process.
He's not afraid to ask the tough questions.
Yeah, and it's a story that challenges us to examine our own assumptions.
And biases.
To engage with those difficult questions.
Yeah, don't shy away. And to be open to the possibility that truth
can be found
in unexpected places.
Yeah, you never know where it's going to pop up.
This deep dive has been a roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
Of intellectual and spiritual exploration.
For sure.
If you're interested in Sanger's journey,
check out his blog.
Definitely check out his blog posts.
He lays it all out there.
He does, and he lays out his entire conversion story
in detail.
Yeah, it's a fascinating read.
Even if you don't agree with him.
Yeah, even if you don't share his conclusions.
It's worth checking out.
And as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
What do you think?
What resonated with you about Sanger's story?
Did it spark any
new insights?
Or questions?
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for joining us on this Step Dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Until next time.
Keep
seeking, keep questioning.
And keep exploring.
And we'll see you on the next Deep Dive.
See you later.